All right, welcome back, everybody. Another video from Orbital. Tonight is the NBA draft, and Rourke and I are going to bring our opinions on who we think should go number one, number two, kind of what the top three, because I feel like this has been one of the more highly debated, who goes number one, if this person goes number one, who goes number two, and then who goes number three. I feel like it's been very highly contested with the top three of LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, and James Wiseman. Rourke, what are your kind of thoughts going into tonight?
Yeah, well, if it's not clear, LaMelo is clearly my favorite player, not only in this draft, but probably in any human being playing basketball right now, currently. no, he, uh, the LaMelo. With that said, and while I think he is the best player in the draft, I really think that it's more of a top two contention between Wiseman and Anthony Edwards as to not only who's going to get picked first, but I think that they are the consensus top two picks. While LaMelo is still in that top three of, like, you talk about who are the best players in this draft, those three names are in the top tier. But I almost think that Wiseman and Edwards are in their tier of their own, because I think that, the first pick, depending on what the Timberwolves decide to do, I've heard some trade buzz. Do you think that they are going to have the first pick? And if so, who do you think they take out of Wiseman or Edwards?
If I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves, I keep the first pick. I would not move it. I mean, unless you get a guaranteed superstar, but at the same time, it doesn't even make sense for them to do that in some regard, because you've got a young guy in D'Angelo Russell, you've got a young guy in Cat. Like, unless you're trading for, someone like you, this just wouldn't happen because of the Chris Paul trade. But if you're trading for someone like Devin Booker, who's like a bona fide superstar, easily going to be the number one leader on that team if he's traded there. I keep the first round pick so that this pick can grow with Karl-Anthony Towns, with D'Angelo Russell, and because of that, I go Anthony Edwards. I think it's pretty clear. You hear the over-exaggerated NBA draft comparisons every single year, and this guy's being compared to Dwayne Wade, James Harden, like those guys, and then obviously you hope he gets to those levels, right? But he does have an NBA-ready body, right? He is not someone who's going to get pushed around on the block a whole bunch. A lot of people like to point to his lack of efficiency from the three-point line in college. Now, the counter argument there is, if he's a bad shooter, he's not like, why is the coach letting him shoot 7 threes a game? He might have just had a bad season, and he has a good free throw percentage, which is something that points to a decent touch, or something that can be taught to extend it past the 3-point line. So for me, Anthony Edwards obviously also has the slasher driving ability that you want from a base level of, like, I want a cornerstone of my team to be able to at least get a bucket no matter what, right? So if someone closes out, you can get to the basket at will. I want that in my first round pick, especially my number one first round for first pick. What about you? Do you think Wiseman goes number one, or would you stick with Anthony Edwards?
Yeah, I think Anthony Edwards, as you said, I think he's the most polished player in this draft. Not the most skilled, because I would say LaMelo is more skilled, but I would say, like, in terms of you're making an NBA prospect, you're doing a comparison. Here's a comparison for you that people are making last year in the draft. Now, these players are not super similar in their play style, but Cam Reddish, right? Everyone talked about how he was just like that polished, ready for the NBA type player. That's what I see with Anthony Edwards. He looks like he is the most ready to play in an NBA game in terms of coming into the league and looking like, yeah, he can shoot. He's got the body. He's got the size. He's got the athleticism. He's got the ability to drive. He's got the finishing of packages. So, like, he looks like he's the most ready right now. And I'm going to talk about one other player in this draft that I also think behind him is the most polished in the draft. A little sleeper for you. But, so I do think Anthony Edwards will go first. I would like to see a potential, trade if the Timberwolves wanted to get crazy with it and trade Cat. I've heard a little bit of buzz around that. If they, end up trading Cat, then I could see them drafting Wiseman at number one, getting their big man like that. But I don't see them drafting Cat and Wiseman, having Cat and Wiseman part of the picture. So, with that said, if we both agree Edwards goes number one, obviously the Warriors are on the clock at number two. I think they would love to get Wiseman if he's available. Where's your stand? I've heard a lot of reports about that too. That if Wiseman falls, and that's what they get. But maybe that doesn't happen. Where are you thinking about number two standpoint? How do you break that down?
I think that's a great point that you made of like maybe they don't do it, right? Everyone says that they should. They need a big man. Maybe they go completely left field and they're saying, "Oh, we're gonna get like the next step. We're gonna turn LaMelo into the next Steph Curry, right?" Or maybe they say, "Oh, we're gonna go get like Onyeka Okongwu and have a backup for Draymond and like have better small ball ability." Bleacher Report proposed a trade earlier this week where they get Clint Capella from the Hawks, and in return, the Hawks get the second pick and they get the sixth pick. The Warriors, that is, get the sixth pick. I honestly, if that's the trade that's on the table, I would stick with Wiseman. I think he's younger and he already does, but he already has the potential, the body to do what Clint Capella does in terms of be a lengthy perimeter paint defender. A guy that's going to average a steal and a block every single game. But I think Wiseman has a lot more upside from a ball handle ability, from a creativity level, from a guy that can become a superstar big man. I think I would stick with Wiseman there. Personally, I think it's the safest bet is to go Wiseman. I think when you're in a position where you are the Warriors, where you listen, you're like Steph Curry's broken hand away from being in the playoffs and being a contender, and now you've like lucked into the second round pick. It's reminiscent of like when David Robinson got injured and the Spurs ended up with Tim Duncan. Like that's just not fair, And so I think when you're in a position where you are already a title contender just by showing up next season with the pieces you already have, adding the safest pick is the best idea because you can always move that later on. What do you think about what the Warriors should do?
No, I agree completely with your standpoint. I'm curious though, if let's say Wiseman gets picked number one, where is your standpoint with the Warriors? Because I would actually think that they would go LaMelo at that point. Barring if they don't trade their pick. I don't know why, but I don't think the Warriors are too hot on Anthony Edwards. And I don't know, maybe it's just that he doesn't fit the role of their team and what they're looking for. But I also kind of like, the Warriors having LaMelo in terms of him creating for Curry and Clay and getting them involved because, Curry, a lot of his plays are, off ball. And, while he makes dribble dazzle plays, when he gets the ball, a lot of his damage is, when he's running off ball. And so you want someone with the ball kind of managing the situation like that Draymond, right? But, LaMelo can, I think, easily run an offense, and he proved that when he played in the NBL in Australia. So I kind of like that advantage that the Warriors could have with LaMelo in running the offense, if they were not to draft Wiseman at the number 2 spot. So that's from my standpoint. What about you if Wiseman goes number 1?
I think, you bring up a really great point with LaMelo going number 2 there because it would almost mean that the Warriors have this seamless transition from Curry to LaMelo, and you can bring LaMelo up slowly. He's not the most, the biggest knock on him is he's not the most disciplined basketball player, right? Turns the ball over, not necessarily gives 100% on defense, maybe inefficient in some regards, taking bad shots, but making him someone like Curry's backup, where he has so many opportunities to play long seasons, going into the playoffs, championship, learning how to do that can really turn him into a better, you'll use the stereotypical term, mature basketball player. But I think that's an interesting landing spot for him. But I think it's definitely a plan for the future. I don't think it helps the team out, the day after the draft, right? I don't think that really improves the team where they need improvements, right? Which is getting a very skilled 5 to play that position. Now, moving on to the third pick with Charlotte. LaMelo's been tossed around. Obviously, here's where they think he would go. But with the mix of Terry Rozier and also Devontae Graham, how do you see LaMelo playing into the already guard-heavy lineup the Hornets play?
Yeah, I think the Hornets are very determined that if they're not going to end up with the likes of someone like LaMelo, it's going to be because they're trading for another star, i.e. Westbrook or someone else contending like that. Now, I'm assuming that's not going to happen. And if so, I would deadlock the Hornets in for drafting LaMelo at 3, barring the Warriors don't do it at number 2. But assuming that, Wiseman and Edwards, the top two tier here, they go 1 and 2. I think there is no doubt in my mind the Hornets will pick up LaMelo, and I think that there's no problem with him running it with Rozier and Devontae Graham. Maybe from a defensive standpoint, but LaMelo's already a big guy. He's 6'8", playing point guard, so it's not like they're going to be a really small backcourt or anything like that if they're playing all three of them. But I think the Hornets would be a lock to draft LaMelo at number 3. MJ, I'm not just saying because MJ's the owner and he's came out and said he wants a star, and that's why I think the Hornets, really want a star. But if you're in a small spotlight like Charlotte, right? And that market's already small to begin with. You really need those big players. You traded away your Kemba Walker last year, and it did not work out well. With Rozier, that was not what they drew up on the board there. Getting Rozier, and Devontae Graham was a nice little spotlight for him. But they definitely want a star, and I think if they're not getting a good draft all-star like Russell Westbrook, etc., they definitely want that star talent like LaMelo. And so I consider it a lock for the Hornets to take LaMelo at 3. What about you?
You know what's so crazy is I want to know when teams are gonna stop this theory of I found this sixth man point guard on a on the verge of contending team like Terry Rozier, like Dennis Schroeder with the Hawks, like who was the Oklahoma City point guard that backed up Russell Westbrook?
Talking about Payne?
Reggie Jackson was the guy. So many times, at least those 3 times in the past, 10 years, we've said, oh, he's really great when he only plays 18 to 23 minutes a game. Let's give him a huge contract to make him our star point guard. And it never works out, at least the first year. It never works out. And now Dennis Schroeder, Reggie Jackson are both back to being, backup point guards on their respective teams, right? I mean, Schroeder might start for the Lakers next season. We'll see. But, I mean, it's this idea of giving them huge contracts. And we see Terry Rozier, do the same thing this year. And I'm pretty sure I said last time, maybe I said it on camera, maybe I didn't, but I was like, he doesn't scream star point guard to me.
No, you're on record for that. You're on record.
I am. I said the same thing with Ray Jackson before we started Orbital. Dennis Schroeder was the guy that you and Ayers were huge fans of.
He's different though, because Schroeder came from.
He had the best shot of all of
them. But Schroeder also is different because he was a starter and then came relinquished into that 6-man role because he was their team was so good. So I feel like he shouldn't be included. But Reggie Jackson is a great comparison to Terry Rozier, where he's the backup to a star player. And then it's okay, if he just got some real time, some real minutes, he could do something with an offense. And then Rozier gets his opportunity, and he's insanely inefficient. And I'll admit, I thought Rozier was going to be really good getting his time. When I saw him in Boston, he looked electric. He looked fire. But, I guess when you're playing more minutes and you're, supposed to take on more load of the offense, that, you're going to become more efficient when you're supposed to be relied on, more consistently.
He's also got way worse teammates.
Yeah. I guess that probably helps when
Where's Jason Tatum? Jalen, what are you doing?
They're doubling me.
He's got no one to throw to. He's got freaking Devontae Graham and Cody Zeller's down there instead of It's a little harder to find good teammates down in Charlotte. But I think LaMelo, no doubt, they do need a star, and LaMelo will give you that. You can always trade away the other pieces, or just put Terry Rozier back into being a backup point guard, right? Or you do that transition halfway through the season, you figure it out. But I think LaMelo, if he's not taken by the 3rd pick, the Charlotte Hornets definitely have to take him just to get something to excite the fans down there, really, because other than that, they don't really have a player that you look at and you're like, man, he's going to be good in a couple of years. Now with the rest of the guys, Onyeka Okongwu, I see him either going 4th if he's not taken by the 4th pick already. 6'9" forward, has the body at 235 to play in the NBA. At least in small ball lineups, I definitely see him as a 4 starting out. But Draymond Green is obviously the comparison there. Just someone that can do multiple things on the basketball court and defend multiple positions, I think is really his appeal. But what you kind of hinted at, who's your one player that isn't going to go in the top 3 or maybe the top 5, but you're really excited about who's your diamond in the rough kind of player, I guess is a way to put it.
Yeah, so I think he's probably going average draft, mock draft, probably around like that 5 to 7 range. But Obi Toppin from Dayton. Now, where's Dayton? I have no clue. But this guy is very, very skilled. I don't know if you've seen him, caught any highlights. Obviously, John, I know you have, but more talking to the viewers, I guess. But
No,
Obi Toppin, he, like I said with Anthony Edwards, is very athletic, very built and polished, and almost looks ready to be playing in the NBA at this point in his career. Now, he isn't one of these young 1 year and done 19-year-olds coming on the scene, insanely talented. He's been around the block a little bit. He didn't get a lot of attention. So he's 22 currently. And so, he's already got some years. That's why I think he's kind of a little more developed compared to other NBA players in this draft or prospects, in this NBA draft. But with that said, he's still, you look at his huge frame, ability to shoot. I think he can put some work in, shot create in the post. You can play him. He can guard various positions. He can play various positions, in that forward range. So versatile from that standpoint, and has the potential if he can, focus on his shot making, create that shot making. You could see almost like an athletic version of type Jason Tatum. Playing more that guard. He's a little heavier, I think. So I think he's gonna do a little more work inside than that type of, shooting from Jason Tatum. But that's almost like you look at them, they almost look alike, right? And it's like they have that same type of athletic build to where they look, like they're ready to play in the NBA. When you look at other guards and other players that are going to be coming into the draft that look a little, just don't look as developed yet. So Obi Toppin would be my star pick outside the top 3 to emerge in this year's draft class. What about you?
I think it's a great player. By the way, Dayton is in Ohio, so I don't know what kind of competition he's been playing against all year. But
same as LeBron, bro. Same as LeBron.
Exactly right. He's the next LeBron. He's 6'9". He is big. He is 6'9". Got an NBA
huge. He can shoot too. It's like he can play positions.
Absolutely. So I do think that the draft position for him is well warranted. A guy that I really like that is not slated very highly in the draft is Tyrese Maxey.
Great pick.
University of Kentucky. And I'm actually going to compare him to another guy that he went 13th, I believe, but he also had the University of Kentucky, Jamal Murray. Now I feel like that's almost blasphemous because of how well Jamal Murray played in the bubble and in the playoffs. But an athletic, a surprisingly athletic guard. I think Jamal Murray is one of those guys where he just looks like a little ball of energy, right? He's not like he's 6'3", but he looks kind of shorter, maybe on the 6'1", 6'2" kind of. We gotta get the
kind of short
measurements going here, but I think he's someone who has explosive athleticism and can turn into a great shooter, right? It's someone who he doesn't really do one or the other amazingly well or like amazingly better than the other, right? He's not like super shooter who's not that athletic, and he's not super athlete who can't shoot. He's at a good level for both. And I think defensively and intensity wise, me, I love my intense defense. So I think he's a player that can bring that mentality, a competitive mentality, to whatever team ends up drafting him. But I'm surprised that NBA Draft.net has him going at 21 to the Philadelphia 76ers. I feel like that's incredibly low. But I mean, they've got also guys like RJ Hampton, who had so much buzz, even a year or two ago, that is now going. I mean, they have him going at number 13, so still in the lottery. But he was someone who was supposed to be, top 5, top 10 easy, just because he went overseas and played professionally there. But maybe he didn't put up the right stats, or maybe didn't do too well in team interviews. But he's not supposed to go very high. But Tyrese Maxey is probably the guy that I think is going to go later than he should and overproduce his draft stock.
Yeah, love that. Great pick. I got an honorable mention just as a bonus for you. Since Obi's projected 5 to 7, he's already projected to be in the lottery. He's gonna be pretty solid. Outside the lottery, a lot of buzz around him actually. Cole Anthony. I think
that's a great one to bring up too.
People are just sleeping on him. Why isn't he getting more draft buzz? I don't understand.
Like the whole year, he would be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, it's either just because he was injured, his 1 year playing. But you talk about some hype coming in out of high school. Cole Anthony, yeah, he definitely had the buzz around him. You're right. I think that, the injury just mainly played a role in his draft stock being hurt now. But, I follow some basketball accounts on Instagram. I see he's been working real hard. He looks really good. And, super athletic too, and a great shot already. So I think he can come in, make an instant impact for a team, depending on who, takes a shot on him. But yeah.
When he went to UNC, maybe Michael Jordan surprises everybody at the third pick and just takes Cole Anthony because he went to UNC. Like,
that's crazy. Yeah, maybe they trade for another pick. Yeah, I think he'll go in the late teens. Like you said, Tyrese Maxey probably in the teens as well.
Yeah.
But in that range, there's a lot of good players that get drafted that we see that are really good in the NBA that go in those kind of RJ Hampton. One of these guys is going to be the next super really good all-star in the NBA. No doubt about it. So, hopefully teams can pick the right ones. What about the Rockets? Who are the Rockets going to take in this year's draft?
I mean, they actually have a pick now, right?
Oh, yeah, we've got a pick now, actually, with Rocco.
I don't know if NBA Draft.net has updated, but I'm pretty sure they have a pick now. They've got, I think they have.
Is it just the Blazers, or is it one of their picks?
The Blazers pick, but the Blazers have number 16. I think the Rockets maybe have that now.
No way. We got the 16th
cool. I think they've got the 16th pick. That'd be pretty interesting.
Cole Anthony?
Screw Westbrook. Throw him out of here. We'll get another
trade Westbrook for Paul George. Draft Cole Anthony. Bang.
Yeah, easy money.
Thank you for watching. If you like this snippet of our podcast, make sure you like the video and leave a comment of your thoughts on the topic we talked about, and make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. Also, if you want to watch the podcast in its entirety, you can find us on Spotify, which is linked in the description below, with our Instagram and Twitter, which you could also follow. All you have to do is click the links below. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.